Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So let me start today's video by sharing a quotation with you. I wrote this quotation. If you like it, press the like button. So the quote goes something like this. Companies that are ambitious are dangerous, but companies that are ambitious, plus if they have resources, they are deadly. Now the reason why this quote is very pertinent is because today we are going to talk about Facebook/Meta, which is one of the rising stars in the tech industry, so to say. It might very well define the next generation of tech. Now, before you drop off, before you say that, hey Akshat, I watch your channel to learn only about Indian stocks, please watch this video. It is a very important request from my end because you will get to understand more about the tech world, how the tech is progressing all across the globe. Why is it that you should be looking very closely at the US tech space? Because starting now, in the next 1 decade, some new tech-oriented businesses are going to get built up, new monopolies are going to get created, and if you are an investor in these type of companies, it can give you massive returns. You already know by watching my channel that I do not invest much in Indian tech stocks. I hardly have around 2 tech stocks in my portfolio. And the primary reason for that is that I do not feel that Indian tech companies can become monopolies. So from that perspective, I have identified companies that have the potential to become tech monopolies going forward in the future. And I'm making big investments in those. So this video is aligned with that thought process. Moreover, since the Indian market and the US market are closely interlinked, the world is highly globalized now. Whatever happens in the US tech market, it somewhat gets reflected in the Indian stock market also. So it's very important for us as Indian investors to understand even the US markets. Now, just a very quick disclaimer that I'm not here to discuss the evil side of Facebook. So all of us know what Mark Zuckerberg usually does. I will not comment a lot on that. I will leave it up to your discretion to comment on the comment box. Some interesting incident that might have happened around you using WhatsApp or Facebook and how your data was used to show you more ads. Type in your comments, would love to read them. But I'm going to discuss the money-making side of Facebook on today's video. And I'm essentially going to speak about 5 simple points. If you understand these 5 points, you will be able to learn a lot about the tech industry, where it's heading, and why looking at Facebook so closely makes a lot of sense for Indian investors as well. So point number 1, why is it that Facebook made this switch? A lot of commentary has been going on that, you know what, Akshat, Mark Zuckerberg was doing some shady stuff. He had to revamp his reviews, therefore he changed the name of the entire company so that people cannot find out about Facebook. So this is like one kiddish narrative that is going on. No, it's completely wrong. I don't think, number 1, Mark Zuckerberg cares about what people are saying about him on the internet. Facebook is already a monopoly in terms of social network. It owns Instagram, it owns WhatsApp. So they are already a monopoly in those set of traditional businesses. There was a brief period when Snap became a big challenger for Facebook, but over time, Facebook has become so big and it has become so monopolized that honestly, that all these different competitors like Snap are unable to challenge the alpha dog status that Facebook has already garnered. So they don't care about the reviews from that perspective. Also, if you think about this negative review problems fundamentally regarding tech stocks or tech companies, you will again be able to ascertain this point fairly intuitively. That when it comes to companies like Google or when it comes to companies like Amazon, I'm forgetting the name of that Netflix movie that recently came out. It outlined the fact that how tech companies are making you more addictive to their products and bunch of other evil things. Type out the names and do go and watch that movie. It was a fascinating movie about how big tech companies are actually pushing you to use more of their products and use and engage in more of their services in a very evil format. So to cut the long story short, almost all the tech companies are somewhat evil from that perspective. So this leads us to the second point as to why Facebook has decided to change its name to Meta and what is the real rationale and reasoning behind it. Okay, so number 1, it's very important for us to understand that this is a deliberate move by Facebook. It is not a random thought that Mark Zuckerberg got in his head and he started executing it from the next morning itself. So for this, let me take you to the year 2012 because that is where the Meta story starts, and let me take you to this Wikipedia article. So Oculus is a division of Meta Platforms that produces VR headsets, including a bunch of different things. In 2012, a bunch of these people got together and started this company, and there is a lot of good information about these people. In March 2014, Facebook acquired Oculus for $2.3 billion in cash and stock. This is a very important aspect for us to understand that Facebook has been at this metaverse thing. At least for the last 7 years, they have been very serious about this game. A lot of people miss the entire point that, you know what, because Facebook was getting negative commentary, therefore it decided to change its name. No, they made $2.5 billion in investment in terms of purchasing this company. This was a thought out process for them. So this leads us to the question that, hey, what exactly is it that Metaverse do? So who better to explain than my buddy Mark on this? So here is Mark speaking about what Metaverse is.
They meant text that we typed on computers. Then we all got phones with cameras, and the internet became much more visual. And recently, as connections got faster, video has become the main way that we experience content. We've gone from desktop to web to phones, from text to photos to video, but this isn't the end of the line. The next platform and medium will be even more immersive, an embodied internet where you're in the experience, not just looking at it. And we call this the metaverse. And you're going to be able to do almost anything you can imagine. Get together with friends and family, work, learn, play, shop, create, as well as entirely new categories that don't really fit how we think about computers or phones today.
Now, I hope that you understood what Metaverse roughly does. So what is the primary advantage? There are three primary advantages that I see in terms of Metaverse. The first is the functional improvement on different technologies. For example, right now, if we have to engage with our friends online, we probably chat, we do a video call, etc., etc. Very basic stuff. But if you can be in an immersive universe where you can see your friend, get a feeling of being in the same surrounding, there is a functional improvement. So this is the first reason why Metaverse is very powerful. The second reason is the cross-pollination of ideas. You need to think of Metaverse as a universe. Now it can have its own digital currency. Facebook can launch its own Facebook coins. They can be transacted through WhatsApp because again, Facebook owns WhatsApp, and Facebook using Oculus can create a series of different games on which you can interact and buy products from those same set of coins. So integrating cryptocurrency, cross-pollinating VR, Oculus video games, and cross-pollinating cryptocurrencies, Metaverse can become an entire universe and a financial system in itself. So the opportunities to cross-pollinate the ideas are literally endless. Now the third and final reason why Metaverse is so powerful is that because it leads to future-proofing of technology. Now what do I mean by future-proofing? Usually if you understand the psychology of Jeff Bezos, he works on that long-term vision perspective. Same goes for Elon Musk, that they think 10 years ahead. Here, Mark Zuckerberg is literally thinking 20 years ahead. If you fast forward 20 years, what would the world look like? All of us would have a very different vision, but in my understanding, adoption of cryptocurrencies will skyrocket. Bunch of new tech, wearables will become smarter. VR, artificial intelligence will come into the picture. So bunch of good things might happen. This is a future. If you're imagining, then you need to take bets accordingly on the businesses where you're investing your money. And honestly, the core idea on which the metaverse is being created, that is super powerful. It at least stays in the game for the next 20-30 years easily. And no other company is even coming close in terms of touching Facebook's growth on this particular aspect. Now comes the third question that, okay, Akshat, I believe the story that, okay, metaverse is going to be really big. See the utility in it, but why is it that Facebook is going to win in this game? So there are 4 specific reasons that I could find out or I could think of. So the first reason is that Facebook is an early innovator and adopter in this space. In addition to the Oculus article that I was earlier talking about, here is a New York Times article on the same topic. I will ask my editor to zoom it out and I will read this with you. The company already has more than 10,000 people working on augmented and virtual reality projects in its Reality Lab division. Twice as many people as there are on Twitter's entire staff, right? Now, this is a very powerful statement. It's not as if that Facebook went about recruiting all these 10,000 people in like a span of 3 months. No, they have been running this Reality Lab division for a certain number of years now. They have built up the strength. They have put in the R&D money into it already and they are seeing the results. So having this early advantage in the game and having built all these different systems and processes, they're already ahead in terms of rolling out different products. This brings us to the second point, which is around research and division, that Facebook has a very high R&D spend, and this is not something that they have started doing now post transitioning to Metaverse. They have been doing it for a certain number of years already. So this is an article from 2015. So again, had been planned much ahead in time. So the article says, in 2015, the social networking giant disclosed that it spent 1.06 billion on research and development in the first quarter of 2015. That is almost 30% of revenues, not profit. 30% of revenues are going into R&D from which year? From 2015 onwards. So they are again, now if you combine this, well, to spend so much money on R&D, where was this money going? This was not just being done in terms of showing you more ads on Facebook because that part of the business is already sorted. They were trying to do this R&D on some new stuff. What is that new stuff? This new stuff is metaverse. This is where money has been going, and Facebook has had immense lead time in terms of structuring this new business to which they are now pivoting. Now, the third and very obvious reason why Facebook might become really big in terms of playing this game is the ecosystem play. Now, almost every company, every tech company on earth is trying to build an ecosystem. For example, when you're using Apple products, you have Apple AirPods, you have a MacBook Air. Then they loop you in terms of giving exclusive softwares like Final Cut Pro and bunch of different things. Why is this exclusive ecosystem built? So that you don't switch out of that ecosystem. If you're switching, you have very high switching costs. So the same type of ecosystem and angle is being built by Facebook. How? Again, going back to that example that if Facebook owns WhatsApp, if Facebook owns Instagram, if Facebook owns Facebook, and now it is researching and doing R&D to develop a new universe. On this new universe, they can pick up people from all these different resources, WhatsApp, Instagram, and put them here, right? Very easy for them to do because their customer acquisition cost will be very less to bring people on this new universe that they are creating. So this ecosystem that they have created, it's unparalleled, it's unmatched. So if there is one company on which we should be betting in terms of winning this meta game, it is Meta. It is as simple as that. Now, the fourth and final reason why I feel that Facebook is going to win this game is because they have a habit of winning games. It's not as if that this is the first time they are structuring a new business and have tried to make it successful and have some crazy audacious goals in mind. No, they have prior history of running successful businesses, and if they can do it once, they can do it easily again with so much resource and firepower in their bank. Okay, so let me take you through the financial data very quickly. This is the quarterly performance of the company, and look at the data from right to left. So in 2019, last quarter, they had a operating revenue of 20 billion. Now it stands at 28 billion, right? So clear growth. If you take a look at operating income, right now at 10.42 billion, back couple of years back, it was 8.8 billion, right? So of course, they have not only increased their sales through their past business, but also have grown that sales profitably. So to cut the long story short, Facebook has massive resources. Facebook has lead time in terms of structuring research, being a leader in this industry, and they have ecosystem which they can use to boost up this new business that they have decided to create. Now, just a very quick note that looking at Facebook's past history of growth is not a very reliable measure. We cannot do like a technical analysis on the stock and try to determine what metaverse would be worth, because this is a hard pivot for Facebook. So there is honestly no point in looking at the financial data as of now. All we need to look at from the financial data is that, hey, can this company grow profitably, and does it know how to grow profitably? Because if a company knows how to expand sales, its operations, and grow profitability, what does it indicate? And it shows that the management is super capable in terms of taking metaverse and growing it to new scales. So in this journey of becoming like a multi-trillion-dollar business, would Facebook have a very smooth ride? No, there could be multiple challenges. There are three key challenges that I see. One, competition from Google or companies like Google. They are also experimenting in the same space. And it remains to be seen to what extent Google is going to compete with Facebook when it comes to this particular aspect of metaverse. That's one. Second point is around Chinese company. So Chinese companies are really good at reverse engineering the entire process and creating parallel universes or parallel metaverses. They can easily do it. And Tencent is already on that spree. So here is an article for Tencent. I will link it in the description box also. Please go and give it a read. Again, very important, very fascinating article. It simply shows that Chinese are not giving up the ground. They are also trying to develop something similar to Facebook to challenge them. Third and finally are the US regulators, because metaverse is literally a new universe. Every time a new product is announced, for example, if Facebook decides to launch its own cryptocurrency, it has massive power because it is integrated into the payment systems. So it requires a lot of regulation clearances. So this regulation challenge will always be there for Facebook, and Facebook has to overcome this. To what extent it can overcome this remains to be seen. This is a missing piece of the puzzle. Retail investors like you and me cannot make calls based on this. So what am I doing with the Facebook stock? Am I buying? Am I not buying? When am I buying? So number one, I've started aggregating Facebook stock already. I have not put an investment live clip today because I'll compile it and I'll put it as my November investment series video. So you'll see me doing live investments on Facebook there. But why am I so bullish about this entire metaverse thing? Here is a simple article for you. It outlines that the metaverse market will be worth $828.95 billion in 2028. So this comes from credible sources. It is approximately 828 billion, huge market size. That is just one part of the equation. The second part of the equation is that the competition in this particular metaverse is minuscule. There is hardly any competition in this space. That's two. And third, the barriers to entry in the metaverse space is very, very high, especially if a company like Facebook gets into the picture. They can easily get up to even 50% of the market share. If that ends up happening, Facebook stock will become rocket. So I'm holding this stock for at least the next 10 years and I will be aggregating this stock heavily over the next few months. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up and check out the links in the description box, and I will see you the next time.